you doing? It's your boy Brogi Naric back again with another episode of Brogi Naric on Films, series where I review various movies. And in this video, I'm going to be giving my review of 1917, the new war flick that was directed by director Sam Mendes. You may know from Skyfall. He directed Spectre, and he also did Road to Perdition, which was a really good movie. Haven't seen that in a while, but he directed those movies. And this movie was technically it was released last year in 2019, but that was a limited release, and its full theatrical release was, I believe, last week. So it's now more people in the public are seeing it. And 1917 was on a lot of people's top movies of 2019 list. And I wasn't expecting to see, I wanted to see this movie. Now, initially this was going to be my Bad Boys for Life review, but when I went to the theater, it was sold out. I underestimated the power of Martin Lawrence and Will Smith coming back together. So as a consolation, I went to go see 1917, and I had a great time watching this movie. This movie is awesome, and I get why this movie was on the top of a lot of people's best of 2019 movies. As a quick synopsis of 1917, the movie takes place on, I believe, April 6, 1917, during World War I, and I believe it's set in France. And it focuses on these two British soldiers, army soldiers, who are sent on this mission where they have to cross over into enemy territory and warn another British Army regiment that they're about to run into an ambush, because they think they're going to attack the Germans, but it's really an ambush, and they don't realize it, and they have to get over there to warn them that, hey, don't go through this attack. And they go through different trials and tribulations to get this. And the amazing thing about this is based on a real story that the director Sam Mendes' grandfather actually did during World War I. And that makes all of this even more, it's sort of like that Saving Private Ryan feel, where it's like this is based on real stuff. And it has that Saving Private Ryan vibe where it really gets into the grittiness and sort of realisticness of how dangerous war is and being in the battlefield. But there's a certain gimmick that this movie has where it's all focused on a continuous shot. That means like the movie, the camera never stops and then cuts to another. Like say if it's two people talking, the camera is never on one person, then changes to the next person. It's always a continuous shot watching both of them. And that gimmick works really well. And it really makes it feel intense, where the camera's constantly moving and the characters are always... It makes things kind of compressed to a degree, but it also gets the energy going when they're continuously moving, and it works. This movie is definitely as engaging. There are moments where you're going to be on the edge of your seat. I noticed that a lot with people in the theater, especially me when I was watching it, on the edge of our seats. And then there's moments where things just happen and it throws you off guard, comes out of nowhere. Great atmosphere. So our two main characters in this movie are Lance Corporal Blake, played by Dean Charles Chapman, and Lance Corporal Schofield, played by George McKay, who I'm not familiar with these two actors, although Dean Charles Chapman, I believe, is on Game of Thrones, or was on Game of Thrones, and George McKay, this is probably the first thing I've ever seen him in, but they do a great job. And these two they're kind of like slackers, and they're getting this mission to go do this kind of out of the blue, but one of the reasons is Lance Corporal Blake, his brother is the shorter one. His brother is part of that battalion that's going to run into that ambush. So, and he's also good with maps. So the army's like, hey, we send these two out there. Maybe it'll have a little more of a skin on the line in order to get this job done. Because I think they only have like 9 hours before they're going to attack in the morning. And these two, they're good friends, and they both have their differences. One is Lance Corporal. He's a bit more optimistic. He's kind of a fun guy, but he's also a slacker. And then the other one, he's a little more laid back, and he takes his job seriously, but he also wants to kind of, if he can, like, they both kind of like, if they can just do the minimum, that's the most they want to do. Although Schofield does have a medal, but he doesn't get into all of that type of stuff. And like I said, the stuff that they go through is gripping. Like there's some moments. I'm gonna get not too many spoilers, but a couple of spoilers. It's a little bit. there's a moment where they investigate the German bunker, and they're looking through, and there's kind of a commentary on like how cool, like how the Brits are like, we just have a trench and that's it, and then the Germans are like, we have a trench and we have a bunker with beds, and it was this intricate thing where they set off a trap and they almost die, and then they have to get out of there. It was almost like a video game or like some Indiana Jones, buildings collapsing type shit. It was really good. There are other moments like that because the action, the moment with the action is really intense, and then it kind of calms down, and you kind of see the countryside, and then just the tenseness of where the enemies are going to be at, and then there are moments where you think it's going to be calm, and then out of nowhere, boom, boom, shots start going, and then they got to duck and dodge and get the hell out of there. There's a great moment that involves an airplane where they're watching this plane battle, and they're just looking at it, and then they see one of the planes, this German plane, that's coming down, and they think it's going to crash, but then it flies back up, and it heads towards them. That's a great moment. I would suggest don't watch the trailer, because I don't think I watched the trailer before seeing this movie, but don't watch the trailer because it doesn't ruin it, but it kind of shows you enough of the big action beats that it'll kind of numb you to it. So don't really watch the trailer. Just watch the movie, and it'll be all very fresh when you see it. These two are the two characters are the main characters. There are a lot of cameos that pop up, and they're basically cameos because they're not really in the movie that much. You got Colin Firth, who is the general who sends them on the mission. Benedict Cumberbatch is in it. He plays the colonel who they have to go get the message to. Mark Strong pops up as another colonel. He's got a little limited role. And then there's the guy from the Sherlock show that plays Moriarty. He has a little bit. He's like another military guy that he's on their base, and he's the one that gives them the heads up about how to get through the craters so they can get to the base. And they're all like minor roles, and they do well. Then there's another character. There's a moment where Schofield is still on his mission, and this is when the movie kind of slows down a bit, where he's in this bombed out town that he has to get through in order to get to where he has to go. And that was a very intense moment because there was a shootout before then he gets knocked out, he wakes up, and he comes across this French woman, which was helpful because I didn't know exactly where they were, but it's like, oh, they're in France. And that was a nice moment where he's helping this French woman, and she's got well, I'll leave that alone. And then there's an intense moment when he's getting chased by some Germans, which was probably one of my favorite sequences in the movie, when he's running through this bombed out town. One building is on fire, and there's like these flashes from different flares because there's like a battle going on. And this is supposed to be like early, probably like 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and he's just running, and then there's a moment he has to jump off this cliff into a river. Awesome sequence, but that Schofield goes through some crazy shit just to get to these guys. But I think the best sequence is when he's so close. He finally gets there, but like the attack is already it's just starting, and he's got to run across the battlefield to get to the guy. That was the awesomest scene, I think. That was my favorite sequence. The soundtrack is really good when the music kicks in, especially when it's tense, or when there's those moments where it's showing that the great bravery. That soundtrack is really good, and it really gets you pumped. This movie has a lot of breathtaking moments. There's some sad, heartbreaking moments that happen. I'm not going to get too much into that. But one of the things I like about this movie is a very efficient movie. There's not a lot of filler. It's kind of long, but the movie starts off. It literally just starts off with the two guys wake up. You got a mission, and then when it gets to the end of the movie, when he finally solves his mission, and then he does the little second part he has to do. After that, movie's done, and I kind of like how they didn't. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It shows you what it's about, and then it doesn't show you much before. It doesn't show you anything before, and it doesn't show you anything really after. It's like he completes the mission, he does the second part, and then bam, movie's over. And I thought that was kind of cool how it just was like, this is it. With all that being said, my grade for 1917 is an A, a 10 out of 10. Definitely see this movie. I can see why it's on a lot of top 10 lists, and why this picture has been nominated for Best Picture in the Oscars. It might win. I know it seems like there's a battle between this and Joker. I definitely like this far more than the Joker. as a whole movie. In terms of acting, I think Joaquin could get that, but and the acting in this is not bad, but it's just different performances and engagement with the performances. But great movie, go check this one out. Definitely worth seeing. And that's my review of 1917. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you didn't like this video, hit the like button, share it, subscribe to the channel, we're still growing, and check out other videos on the channel. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Finish this thought. I am a slave to...
the booty.